What is good, everybody? HS Rules back again with another video. We're for another retro review, this time around to discuss Ring of Honor, Fate of an Angel 2. Anytime we can showcase the physical media, we will. Yes, I know, this is a bit of an odd show to discuss, but in the retro review series, we've been discussing the road to Final Battle 2010. Last week, we discussed the Survival of the Fittest tournament in 2010. This show that we're discussing today was the night after the Survival of the Fittest. Next week's retro review, we should be discussing Tag Title Classic 2, which took place the night before Final Battle 2010, which is the big show we're aiming to review. That review should also be uploaded the same week as Final Battle 2025, so it all kind of makes sense. I'll say that a lot of the matches on this show kind of go by very quick, with the last two championship matches taking a bit of time, so might be a quicker review. I might have just lied about that, but I wanted to point that out because I discovered it as the show was progressing. Also, they mentioned it very early on that Eddie Edwards was supposed to defend his television championship against El Generico, but Edwards was hurt in the Survival of the Fittest tournament, so that match was canceled. But we will be discussing an Eddie Edwards television title match in our bonus match at the end, so stay tuned for that. Let's get right into this review. The opening contest, Michael Elgin and Zach Gowen of the House of Truth taking on Bobby Dempsey and Grizzly Redwood. Gowen and Redwood start with Elgin holding his own while Gowen struggles when he is double-teamed throughout the match. We get several lariats between Elgin and Dempsey. Gowen accidentally dropkicks Elgin to the outside, and Redwood dives to him on the outside as well. And then back of the ring gives Zach Gowen a top rope elbow drop, with Bobby Dempsey and Grizzly Redwood picking up the victory. And after the match, Michael Elgin attacking Zach Gowen as he cost them back-to-back matches because he kind of cost them at the Survival of the Fittest tournament as well. Next matchup is in the Andy Right Leg Ridge Trial Series, match number 4 to be exact, as Andy Ridge takes on Mark Briscoe. We're going to pause. We're going to time out. I mentioned it last week that this trial series was kind of Andy Ridge going against a bunch of Ring of Honor and established talent, easier word to say, veterans. And I said, they should do this more in modern wrestling. And I said, they kind of do it with Javon Evans, and to when they bring, like, main roster talent to NXT, they normally face Javon Evans. And hilariously enough, Javon Evans, and again, you can make another reference because Javon Evans, when he's on the main roster, obviously goes against the main roster talent. And it's happened again this week when he took on Gunther. So, do that. I want to see this more often in modern wrestling. Unpause. Andy Ridge versus Mark Briscoe. Mark gets the upper hand with a lot of chops in and out of the ring. Ridge misses on a super kick, with Mark following up with a froggy bow for a 2 count, and then he hits the cut threat driver to quickly end the matchup. And Andy Ridge is 0-4 in his own trial series. Women of Honor matchup is Jamelia Kraft versus Sarah Del Rey in a Del Rey domination. Kraft holds her own until she is caught in the corner with a drop kick, and Del Rey follows it up with a pile driver for the win. There's a way longer and better Women of Honor match that takes place at Final Battle, so we will get to that when we get to that. The All Night Express take on Colt Cabana and El Generico next, with the winners of this matchup earning a future tag team title opportunity. Cabana and King start the match off with Cabana being trapped in his opponent's corner early. We get an ANX leg drop and frog splash that gets a 2 count until Cabana finally makes the tag to Generico. King reverses a Yakuza kick into a suplex, with Cabana bringing a pair of flying assholes/apples when he is back in the ring. Generico lands a Yakuza kick for a 2 count, but before anything can happen, Generico dives to the outside because Kevin Steen in the El Generico match appears, and this leads to the two brawling while Titus rolls up Cabana in the ring, with the ANX All Night Express picking up the victory, and not the end of seeing El Generico and Kevin Steen on this show. The Bravado Brothers. Long time since we have seen them. The Bravado Brothers. Wonder whatever happened to them. I'm joking. Versus Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly. This is before they're named Future Shock, so they're just Cole and O'Reilly, but I might refer to them as Future Shock anyways. Harlem and Kyle start the match off with O'Reilly not seeing Lancelot tag in, and later Lancelot landing a split-legged moonsault. He goes for a roll-up when O'Reilly kicks out of it and pushes him into a Cole Enziguri, and then O'Reilly goes to the outside to deliver his apron dropkick to the corner. Harlem kicks out of a super kick in lariat, but does not kick out of a drop kick into a German suplex, as Future Shock picks up the victory. Speaking of Future Shock, I always liked Cole and O'Reilly as a team. It never really is meant to last that long because they both broke out as single stars. I do appreciate Jazzwares for making a Future Shock 2-pack because I don't know how many people would appreciate that. I did. That being said, I never purchased it, so because it did cost a lot, and then by the time it was on sale, that's when everybody went to go get it. Next matchup, a bit of a fun matchup: Jay Briscoe versus Homicide, a match labeled as a grudge match. We get FT&A chance to start the match off, and then a tie-up leads to the two exchanging fists and brawling on the outside. Homicide hits three amigos in the rings and a frog splash, but Jay gets his knees up, and then he tries to hit his own, and then Homicide does the same to him. We got a forearm exchange that leads to a Homicide ace crusher. Jay hits a Michinoku driver for a 2 count, and then Homicide unlaces his boot, and then he puts his boot up when Jay is running towards him in the corner, and then Jay rips it off accidentally, and Homicide follows it up with an ace crusher for the victory in a bit of an Eddie Guerrero homage, as that's how he won at WrestleMania 20 against Kurt Angle and the Three Amigos. So, bit of a quick matchup between these two, but fun for a while it lasted. Now, our next matchups are championship matchups. The first of which is a tag team title match with the Kings of Wrestling taking on Kevin Steen and Steve Corino. Before the match, Steen addresses the crowd in his El Generico mask, and he basically points out to the reason why I attacked El Generico during his match earlier, or caused the distraction, I guess you could say. Because Generico cost him the Survival of the Fittest tournament, so it was just a case of him getting even. And he brings out local Canadian talent, one of which was very noticeable, and is Ethan Page. So, local Canadian talent to block out Generico from coming out during this matchup. The Kings of Wrestling immediately attack after having to wait for so long after Steen's message, with the first two legal competitors being Corino and Hero. Corino is double-teamed early. After a forearm and uppercut exchanged by Corino and Claudio, Steen is tagged in and applies a sharpshooter. We get a pair of elbows by Hero that gets a 2 count. We get a double DDT by Corino that gets a 2 count. Claudio delivers the UFO to Corino, with Steen having to come in to break up the pinfall. Corino kicks out of a big swing and dropkick by the Kings of Wrestling. Then Steen comes back with a swanton bomb and a crossface and sharpshooter by Steen and Corino, but the referee does not allow it for long because one of them had to get out of the ring. Hero kicks out of a pair of neck breakers by both opponents. Then Generico appears through the crowd, so the local talent did not notice it at first, and Steen has to fight him off because they do not get there in time, leaving Corino by himself to get hit with an uppercut and an elbow by the Kings of Wrestling to retain, as the local talent and the security do a terrible job as Steen and Generico break loose and start to fight one another. And then we get a message after the match from Bobby Cruz, which I guess that he was getting this from management, that they could no longer be, I think, within 50 feet with one another. That was not the important part of the message until Final Battle. The important part was that this was now, their Final Battle match will now be a fight without honor, which is worthy of that. So, as long as this match lasted, I did enjoy it. As now we get to that main event matchup. Ring of Honor World title matchup, Roderick Strong taking on Christopher Daniels. And Daniels earned this title shot by defeating Roderick Strong on an episode of ROH on HDNet before he was champion. So, bit of a redemption for Daniels here, who had never held singles gold in Ring of Honor to this point. We got a tie-up to start with Roddy, leading to a tie-up in the ropes, and he follows it up with a pair of chops. Roddy continues this onto the outside, and then Roddy targets Daniels' back in the ring, especially when he applies a Boston Crab. Daniels avoids a top rope suplex and then hits a gutbuster. We get a gutbuster from Roderick that gets a 2 count, and then a second one is reversed into a Boston Crab. And then on the outside, Daniels is dropped onto the apron when he is able to make it back in the ring at the count of 17. The two meet back on the apron where Daniels lands a apron DDT. Daniels applies the Koji clutch in the ring, but Roddy eventually makes his way to the bottom rope. Then Roddy is able to deliver a top rope suplex. And then once the two are back on their feet, they're exchanging chops, and Truth Martini on the outside causes a distraction meant for Daniels, but he ends up getting in the way, and Roddy is distracted by it, and Daniels lands the Angel's Wings with Roderick barely kicking out at the count of 2. Roddy avoids Daniels' roll-up, and then he follows it up with a Gibson driver for a 2 count, and then back on their feet, Roddy puts his feet up on the best move. All right. Daniels goes for the best moonsault ever, but Roderick puts his feet up, and then he gets back up to deliver a sick kick, and it ain't a heartache to advance to final battle, to go into that world title matchup. So, once again, Daniels loses in Ring of Honor singles title opportunity. Overall, kind of a quick show. I would say the last 2 matches, I would say after the ANX Cabana Generica match is very quick and fun. I'd say after that is where the show like really picked up and was really good. The first half kind of flew by, so there is that. Overall, probably will be the weakest show we discuss in this series, this Road to Final Battle series. But I at least enjoyed the second half, and it's going to be very difficult for me to say an ROH show is bad. I will say that up front. If there was a bad show, I'd probably say it, but this was an okay show. But now, we're on to our bonus match review. I told you we'd be referencing this DVD a couple of times, and this is the second time in this series we'll be referencing the Ring of Honor on HDNet Volume 10, because these episodes are around the time period of Final Battle 2010. And I will say this one's a bit of a, confusing one, but in a world where a lot of wrestling outside of WWE, I should say, was taped, something I guess you had to get used to. But our bonus match this week is a TV title match. Eddie Edwards defending against Christopher Daniels. And again, I was harping on when this is taped. I'm pretty sure this was taped prior to Final Battle. And the main thing that comes to mind there is obviously the Final Battle main event. The big attraction for that show was El Generico, Kevin Steen. If Steen loses, he has to leave Ring of Honor. If Generico loses, he has to lose his mask. How the hell if they taped stuff prior to Final Battle, how did they avoid that? I think I looked at the taping results. I'm pretty sure they just did not book them on this taping, which makes the most sense. I might be wrong, but I doubt it. So, we're worried about Eddie Edwards and Christopher Daniels for the television title from episode number 92 of ROH on HDNet. We get lots of chops by Edwards early into a Death Valley driver by Daniels. We get a crossface, but Edwards gets to the bottom rope. Edwards headbutts on the top rope with a suplex to follow and a moonsault off of the apron with Edwards hitting his ankle on the barricade. They both go to the outside again with Daniels hitting a crossbody. Then we have 2 minutes left on the time limit with Edwards landing a double stomp on the apron. And in the ring, he applies an Achilles lock with 30 seconds remaining, with Daniels reversing it into a Koji clutch with the time limit expiring. Now, Eddie Edwards, he does an honorable thing and asks for 5 more minutes. He could have just left and kept his championship belt, but he wanted to beat Daniels. He thought that he could beat Daniels, so the match continues. The two are not to the outside again, and then get back in the ring at the count of 19. We get a Shining Wizard by Edwards and a top rope hurricanrana that kind of has no effect to Daniels as he follows it up with the Angel's Wings and picks up his first singles championship in Ring of Honor as he wins this matchup. So, a big title change happened on ROH on HDNet. The reason I was also harping on a lot of that stuff earlier is because, and the main reason we're discussing this now, so I'm pretty sure when we get to Final Battle and Tag Title Classic 2, Daniels is already TV champion, so they were kind of spoiling stuff for us anyways. So I did not spoil it until the match was over, which is not really a spoiler then. So, overall, quicker retro review. Next week, we should be discussing Tag Title Classic 2, mainly discussing for the main event, first time American Wolves versus Kings of Wrestling, which was a fun match. But I overall think that was a pretty enjoyable show. And then we got to follow it up the week after the big show, Final Battle 2010, which should be uploaded the same week as Final Battle 2025. It's the last time I say it in this video. So overall, a lot of fun here. I don't really think I have any other messages to apply with it, except for, hopefully you enjoyed the video. You leave a like, comment if you want. Stay safe and all that, and I'll see you when I see you, because I'm out for now. Goodbye.